Good evening, everyone. Here are some of the reasons that make Tom Brady great. I hope you enjoy the video, and if you do, please subscribe and share with your friends.
Joe, I'm sure you'll give us a complete overview of the Bucks a little later in the week, but just in terms of Tom, you worked with him for a long time alongside him. What do you see from him right now? And is there anything that you can sort of draw from your experiences with him to now maybe use against him?
This guy's like clearly one of the best to ever play the game. So he's playing at a very high level. You watch Tom. Obviously, I had a little bit different of a chance this weekend. Being home for a little bit, working from the house, of peeking at the TV and seeing Tom out there play. That along with the coaching tape I've watched. I mean, this guy hasn't had much drop off. He's playing at a very high level. He's got the guys around him playing at a high level as well. I mean, one thing about Tom is, look, he's a very intelligent player. He thinks ahead of the play. He's always looking for answers. He's very proactive in how he sees the game. He understands the personnel on the other side extremely well. He's been in all the situations, however you slice him up, as many times as you could possibly imagine, whether it's through practice or games. I mean, this guy is fluent in football. And look, he's a great player. I think the thing you got to always keep in mind with Tom is he's as tough and fierce a competitor as there's ever been in any organized sport. This guy really is truly one of the great ones. So, look, it's going to be a little bit different being on an opposite sideline from him this time. But, it's a great challenge. We look forward to, seeing him on the field.
I think the more impressive thing for me that Tom Brady did last year is uprooting his family, leaving one team after 20 years, going to a new team. Although the team was immensely talented, he goes to this team. It's in a COVID season. He doesn't have the normal. The one thing that we know about Tom Brady, he liked the monotony of doing things over and over and over again, being able to show up at the same time, being able to get his throwing in, being able to meet like he normally would. But because of protocols, the COVID protocols that the NFL set in place, he was not able to go through a normal, what Tom Brady would like to think is a normal season. So that, in him going there, playing as well as he did, getting his team to a Super Bowl in his own building and winning that was more impressive to me.
Jordan?
Joe, I'm wondering, what was that relationship like, especially with you being a wide receivers coach? I mean, essentially, he's been around longer than you. He's older than you. What was that dynamic like, and the relationship in general?
I thought we had a good relationship. I thought everyone in that building really kind of fed off each other and had good relationships. There was a lot of, everyone understood, everyone had a job to do. Every player had a role, every coach had a role. We came to work every day, and our focus was, being as successful in our role to help the people next to us do their job as well as possible. I got a tremendous amount of respect for Tom. I learned a lot of ball being around him, of how he sees it through a player's perspective, of things that come up in the game, and how he handles it. Hearing the way, he kind of picks receivers' brains throughout a practice or things he may see pre-snap. I got a lot of knowledge just listening to him talk to other guys in the team. To me, one of the most beneficial things was you could go in during training camp and you'd put on the one-on-one period, receivers versus DBs. And, a lot of times you run as a coach, and there'd be other times we'd let the players go ahead and do it. And you'd let Tom go in there and talk to the receivers about what he's seeing and what he expects on a certain route. And to me, that made you a much better coach by listening to how the quarterback sees it and what he expects on each route. And to me, there's fine points in coaching, but ultimately it matters how the players see it on the field. And to be able to hear it through the vision that Tom had, that was really an education in itself right there.
When Joe made the point that he learned a lot from Brady, especially from how Brady sees it from a player's perspective, I think this is so insightful. That's why it boggles me so much when I hear that the coaching staff doesn't want Brady's input. This is a guy that's played at the highest level, seen everything there is to see, been in every situation imaginable, and actually come out on top. So he knows all the plays, he knows all the situations, and he knows how to overcome the big challenges. So why wouldn't you want to pick his brains? You know Brady's going to give you quality input. He's not there to try and take your job. He only wants to help the team win, nothing else. So as a fan, I found it so infuriating when I heard those things. It's like sending your men into battle by telling them to leave their weapons at home. Sorry, I really digress, because I get really sensitive when I think about some of the stories that I've read of how the Pats coaching staff really disrespected Brady. And I'm not just talking about Belichick either.
Brady had 7 completions of 12 or more yards on third down. Think about that for a minute. And it started right on the first possession. They had 3 third down conversions, all on third and long.
I got a tremendous amount of respect for him right there. He was a ton of fun to be around. You really got to see one of the great competitors on a daily basis of not only how he performed, but more importantly, how he prepared. And I think that's some of the things that get overlooked. It's not accidental this guy's playing this late, all right, in his timeline, being 40-plus years old and still playing at, this high level. The thing that people don't see aren't the time on the field. The things people don't see are the hours and hours behind, okay, where he's in the training room longer, he's stretching, he's getting nutrition, the way he takes care of his body meticulously. This guy, he set the tone for an entire organization. I'm very grateful for my time to be around him.
End of the 2000 season, we're getting ready for the draft for 2001. And it's a Friday night. It's about 9:15, 9:30 at night. I'm leaving the office, and it's the old Foxborough Stadium, and I see that the lights are still on at the bubble. We had the bubble before we had the nice palace that exists now in the indoor facility, and the lights are on. I'm thinking, all right, who left the lights on? It's 9:30 at night, Friday night, and I drive around the stadium, go over to hit the lights, make sure they're off, and I go in there, and there's Tommy on the inside. I'm mocking myself now.
I know.
He's inside by himself, 9:30 on a Friday night, and this is the end of March, beginning of April. The off-season program hadn't even started yet, or it was just getting ready to start. And there he is working out. He's got the elastic bands on his feet, doing footwork drills, throwing balls into the nets, the holes in the nets, all by himself with music playing. And I walk in and I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? And he goes, well, I just want to get some extra work in. So he was a guy, he thought no one was around, getting extra work on a Friday night, single guy, Boston, and he's there working. And, he probably could have had a date, decent-looking guy. But he's there working, and we talk for a little bit. I'm walking out, and he says, hey, Scott, one last thing. I go, what's up? He goes, don't tell anyone you saw me here.
When we play in away stadiums, we're always like in the tunnel, and we're always like huddled up. We got the whole team right there, and there's usually a guy with a headset, and he's like trying to time everything up. So he'll be like, all right, 45 seconds till you can go out, right? Well, Tom, he loved that negativity. Like you could hear the fans surrounding the tunnel, like talking all kind of bad about us and, doing all that kind of stuff. But he reveled in that stuff, right? So he'd a lot of times push that guy aside, and we'd go out onto the field, which we weren't supposed to, but we'd just step a couple steps out of the tunnel just so that people could see us and start yelling. And then, most of the time he'd look back at us and just give us a F 'em all, but he'd use the longer word. And it was that was exactly what we all needed to hear in these hostile environments. You go to Buffalo, you can't even hear, when we first walk out, because everyone hates us up there, and that's a raucous crowd. And so feeling that, it's the world against us. And then all of a sudden we got this guy that's leading our team, and he's like, you know what? F these guys, let's go. And then we just run out. That was one of my favorite things about Tom, man. I mean, he always was he reveled in that hate, reveled in people not liking him, and it just drove him. And so there's definitely a sense of that Michael Jordan ability to just turn nothing into something to motivate him. It's a beautiful thing.
Was at a wedding at Baker's Bay, which is phenomenal, kind of a golf resort in the Bahamas. And we're all there. One of our friends is getting married, and it's Friday night. Everybody had a long night. Wedding's on Saturday. I wake up. I'm checking out the island, struggling just to get out of bed. Take a golf cart around. I see this cat by himself in this field. And I'm like, what is going on over there? I pull up, and it's Saturday morning in May, and Brady is out there with his assistant doing resistant band drops and sprints and throwing. This is no kidding. In this magical resort post long night of the pre-wedding party, and getting his work in and throwing the football and doing all these drops, and it was just insane. And this is year whatever 18 for him, and still has that type of discipline and work ethic.
I mean, it was incredible to watch. Running wind sprints
after you played 18 holes, get ready for training camp. It was awesome to watch, man, and it inspired me.
I feel like, you know, I was such a late bloomer, I would say, in college and in pros. I always felt like I had to outwork the competition. You know, that's just still how I feel. So I think for all the kids out there listening, you know, you got to find traits that you can sustain for long periods of time. And you may be born with certain levels of talent. And at the same time, you got to continue to try to, you know, evolve and grow as an athlete and as a person, and try to, you know, make the next day better than the previous. So, you know, it's been an amazing career for me to still do really what I love to do. I think, you know, when I look at the guys that I'm playing against, you know, you see, you know, Phil obviously playing with, and then Bryson and Aaron. They love the sport. They love practicing, preparing, playing, and it's fun to play with people like that, you know, because, you know, you watch them, you learn from them. I'm always trying to learn from people and you know, grow to be, you know, whether it's better in football, better in other aspects of my life. So football's been such a blessing, and I love golf as a hobby. It's an amazing sport.
He beat Aaron Rodgers. He beat Drew Brees. He beat Patrick Mahomes on a torn MCL. Are you kidding me?
See, I do it.
Thank you for setting me up for that. Shannon Sharp, you just refuse to give this man full credit for anything. You just discount and undercut everything this man ever attempts to achieve in the league in which you starred and in which you now represent in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You will just not give in to Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. Am I correct about that?
Skip, I said it was impressive. I said it just wasn't the most impressive thing that he accomplished. You told me yourself, when people have torn meniscus, you tell me yourself, you've had that injury and you've gone out and gone and run. So how difficult is it?
Different ball game. We're talking about the ligaments. There are 3 big ligaments, as you well know, that stabilize the knee.
Yes.
And if one of them is ruptured or torn, you have no more stability in your knee. It's going to wobble from side to side, and it's going to buckle under you when you least expect it. The cartilage tear is different because it will just catch in the mechanism of your knee unexpectedly, and it will bite you. It will be excruciating for a moment, but you can sort of shake it off. It will just be more of an irritant, an annoyance after a while, as we saw Joel Embiid attempt to do in the playoff run when he played with a small tear in his cartilage. And that's a whole different ball game from this ball game. So my conclusion to this is this closes the case that last year for Tom Brady was the single greatest season accomplishment of anyone in the history of your league. And you detailed much of it, but this is the, if you will, the icing on top. This is the case closer, because to your point, it was a COVID season. It was a COVID off season. He joins a brand new team, a team that had gone 7-9 the year before, a franchise known as the Succaneers, which had the worst winning percentage in all of sports for its history, a new coach, a new coaching staff, and with little to no offseason preparation and 0 preseason games, he dives into the fray. They lost the opener at New Orleans, predictably, because the NFL threw them right into the fire. And they had their ups and they had their shocking downs, a lot of them on national television, such as New Orleans again on a Sunday night at Tampa, and it was a mismatch. And yet Brady slowly but surely created the Patriot way in Tampa Bay. He brought that team to a boil, including, as you always point out, the defense. And everything began to click right on schedule when Tom Brady is always the biggest money in the playoffs. And they went to Washington and won, and they went to Breeze and righted the wrong at New Orleans. And they went to Lambeau Field. Aaron Rodgers had his first ever home NFC NFC championship game. And Brady beat Rodgers at Lambeau, which led to Brady outplaying Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, albeit in his home stadium back in Tampa. What an extraordinary achievement, topped only by the breaking news, and I'm going to agree with you, this had to come from Brady's camp. I guess there's a chance it came from somebody inside the Buccaneers organization, but it actually makes the Buccaneers look pretty shaky because not once did Tom Brady appear on the injury report for a knee that I'm aware of. So will they get fined for this? Very possibly they will get fined.
That's a small consolation, Skip. After winning the Super Bowl, whatever you find me, I'm good.
Okay. The other little piece of information that shocked me was that according to whoever leaked the source, leaked the news, is that Brady tore his MCL in New England at the end of that disaster that befell him and his team at the end of the previous season. Obviously, they lost the home playoff game to Tennessee. I don't know when that was. The story didn't indicate when that was.
I'm going to do a lot more of these types of videos on what makes Tom Brady great. So please like and subscribe, as it would really help. Thank you for watching.